Okay, hopefully now this is recording. And let's see how many we have. 3, someone else joined. Let's see who else. Okay, Lydia's on. Gloria and Glardia. All right. So a little prayer, then Gloria and Glardia are able to get the new email. So the last session here is this part on biodiversity. I'm thinking for a moment, thinking out loud. We need to do evaluations also. So can we take a break? And I need to use the restroom for a moment. Let's take a couple minutes break while the others get online. I asked someone to pass those out and then collect them at the end. I also need to give you back the homework. So let me step out. I'm gonna pause here for a moment. Hopefully, I will start it up again. Thank you for your patience and waiting. Okay, there's a little red dot blinking, so that's good. The third part of this last lecture is looking at another impact. Aside from, so far I was concentrating mostly on global warming and sea level rise, for example, ice melt. But you notice in those pictures of the poles and Antarctica, there wasn't much life there, right? Natural life. Of course, there are animals that depend on that on the ice, but much smaller, let's say, biomass compared to a tropical rainforest or even a temperate forest or the more inhabited areas of the world. So another aspect that we can see that I just didn't have the time to track this kind of data because it requires more manicuring the data or cleaning it up, right? But to look at the loss of biodiversity on Earth and correlate it to see if there is a correlation, or do the analysis to see if there is a correlation between population growth. So far, this is one curve that I was able to find. Just make it a little bigger, maybe see the axis better. You were there. So what we have here is in the past century, more or less, sorry, 2 centuries, from 1800s to 2000, is tracking on purple, human population growth. And you can see this is the beginning of the log phase from the lag phase, right? If we extend this trend backwards, before 1800, just 2 centuries ago, it's fairly flat, okay? And that zero slope or near zero, it's not zero, but it's that near zero slope, right? Goes back now millennia, if we were to go back on this trend here. Certainly this is in millions, all right? So 1,000 million, 2,000, so that's already a billion here. The single digit would be a billion. Okay, so you can see that in the past 2 centuries, it has shot from under 2 billion to over 7 billion, all right? And so you can see the rate of increase here is certainly not linear. Okay, so this is the beginning of the log phase, from lag to log on human population growth. This other statistic, the green line, is the extinction rate. Extinction rate, the rate of extinction. Basically, again, if we extend this line backwards in time, from the 1900s, say, backwards, we can see that it's a near zero slope. So it's fairly flat, but it's above is above, the scale is here, okay? And this is number of species, let me see, 10,000, yeah, so it's about 1 to 2,000 is the background, is known as background extinction rate, all right? Now this is only showing extinction. The other half of the picture is speciation. In other words, new species emerging gradually from varieties. Go back to almost a year ago or 6 or 7 months ago when we were talking about evolution, right? And speciation through the evolutionary forces, mostly natural selection, right? So this is only showing, if you will, the negative part, the negative aspect. But what I'm trying to say here is that there is what is known as a background rate of extinction that is natural, that is there in nature. We can call it replacement at the level of species, I'm sorry, at the level of community, right, where you have the clusters of populations. But there's a background rate of extinction, which is anywhere between 1 and 2,000 per year, all right? And then that has been there for millennia. And now, here we go again from a lag phase to a log phase, extinction rate, the past century, but mostly in the past half century. So you notice there's a lag between these two also, okay? So the population increase is first, it's faster, or first, chronologically, and then the extinction rate trails, but also follows a similar trend. Not exactly the same, but similar. What would be interesting is to see if there is a correlation here. All right? So, again, what would be the null hypothesis here? That there is no correlation. In other words, that these two trends are by chance. It just happens that the human species is in its exponential growth rate. And it just happens that the extinction rate has also gone exponential for whatever reason. Okay? So the null hypothesis would be that there is no correlation actually. All right? That this trends, the similarities just by chance. So to falsify, right, we want to negate the null hypothesis, we would have to do, by the eye, it seems like there would be a correlation, but we'd have to do the proper stats. And then see how is it, because it's not that we are, you know, eating the species directly, okay, we're not consuming them directly, all right? In some drastic cases, we may be shooting them out. For example, some of the large mammals in Africa, all right, which are endangered or maybe even extinct due to hunting. But that is when you take the number of hunting individuals within 7 billion people, is not that large a number. Not large enough to do an impact on the global extinction rate. Maybe for individual species, yes. And those are the endangered species.
Specific species that are more in extinction than others? Or in specific ecological?
More endangered, yeah. So there are different categories. They're endangered, they're protected, and then they are not protected. So those are globally the three main categories of where each species is.
For example, is more extinction in the mammals and the...
In general, yes.
Sea or more in the...
Right. That's the other data that I wanted to show you, and that's as far as I've gotten so far, because I tried, but I didn't have the time enough to find the numbers. I want the background data for this. You know.
What types of species? Like, for example,
yes.
Rate,
yes.
If it's more fish versus
exactly
like mammals.
Right.
Because when you were talking, the first thing that came to my mind is the fact that there was a blurb that came out about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, McDonald's fish sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
That little fish
mm-hmm.
is almost extinct.
Really? Look at that.
Because of McDonald's fish sandwiches.
Oh, really?
Literally,
wow.
it was a
A correlation.
Like a one.
A link connection. No kidding. Wow.
You know, not, yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
because of that.
Yeah. Well, fishing in general, industrial fishing, when they do this with these nets that they drag for days on end on the bottom, certain species are suffering there. These ships, it's known that the fishing boats have to go further and further out into sea to catch the same amount of fish as they caught before. But that's the other link here precisely that I wanted to show you, because I could not find the data set for these curves, all right? This is all I could find so far. That's why I say I want to expand that other data set in our studio with this kind of information. But I did find this link. I don't know if it's gonna work here. Still not gonna work, right? Because same thing, give it up. All right, then let me take this hello and put it, it's probably easier just to go to IUCN. Right click. What I was trying earlier was control. I was trying control and then left click, but that doesn't do it. Okay, it's easy enough. IUCN. You have to find ways to do this a reasonable way. IUCN is an international union of conservation. Okay, International Union for Conservation of Nature. It's a consortium of all kinds of folks loading up, scientists and non-scientists, but the common goal here is the conservation of nature, okay? And it's a pretty extensive website. It had some data sets that were interesting. Let's see if I can find it now for a moment. It's a very extensive website anyway, so what's it in themes or explore? They have what they call the red list. No, maybe if I punch it in. Maybe here.
I think we found the original paper.
With the data? Data set?
They did a PowerPoint. I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you, yes, appreciate it. Okay, let me just say here, red list.
Oh, that thing. Oh, that's a little red panda.
That's a red panda? That's cool.
Yes, they have some spectacular photography. Let me try this. IUCN red list, that one. Okay. These are threatened species, okay? Threatened or endangered, and it does go, okay, so here's, they have endangered, critically endangered. Then they have two categories of extinct. I don't know if this can be magnified a little bit. Yes, good. All right, so they have extinct, globally extinct. Then they have extinct in the wild, meaning that they're not in zoos, essentially, or other preserves that are managed, that are being managed, right, by humans. This is the wild, because there are a number of species that are still kept in zoos and other managed areas, conservation areas. Then endangered, they also offer two subdivisions, critically endangered and just straight up endangered, all right? Then vulnerable, near threatened, and least concerned. So they are offering a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories, or 5 become before they get extinct in the wild, and then 6 before they are extinct. And the issue with extinct so far is that extinct is forever. Mm-hmm. Yes. But now there's genetic engineering and cloning and so forth. So they've been trying to clone, for example, a mammoth for a long time now using elephant eggs, elephant ova, but they haven't been able to manage it yet. But anyway, there's some creativity going on in there, but so far we haven't been able to bring back a species that I know of. All right, so just to, okay, thanks.
And then they mentioned something about how it affects the direct effect on diversity.
Mm-hmm.
The marine species, terrestrial, and freshwater.
I see. Okay. So these are stable populations, and you notice it's by scientific name, all right? So these are individual species at the level of skinks or snakes, for example, okay? And that's at least one. Going back. Is threatened, again, whole list, 111 pages, or entries rather, 111 entries. Yeah, but when you consider that we have been able to classify about 1 million species, right? So, vulnerable, endangered. Let's see what is critically endangered, for example. That's the first one that comes up. Okay, so whole classification, write-up, range. So it's highly documented, right? You can see, very rigorous. This is at the level of scientific quality. So someone, where's, is that
Summary, classification schemes, images, and
here? I want to see the creature, right? We're curious. What it looks like. Is it gonna be here?
External links.
oh my god.
Google.
What do you think? Here, maybe?
Google.
Now photos.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
You never know who's gonna come up with a scientific name. Oh well, there are other things here. This looks like a beluga.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's a top, that's a snail.
Oh, we have to be careful when we click out.
Next to it.
Yeah, this creature, yes,
Looks like something like
it's,
an alien.
yeah, some kind of an insect. It's a arthropod.
Yeah.
Let's go back for a moment and see maybe an image that is readily available. Back one more. All right. I don't know. I cannot tell from the scientific name what it is. Silopia. Well, all these are critically endangered. It's a whole genus. Okay, well, let's see if we can tell from here. It's a plant. Okay, we can tell that much. It's a type of magnolia. All right. So it's giving you the whole classification, class, order, family, genus, species. Right. Okay, so that's a plant. They're going to be, and you find here, so we have animals, plants, but we also have fungi, we have protists. All right, many will be unicellular. It's a vast array. Some of the more dramatic. So, but this one is one that is classified international, and scientists from all over the world are inputting data constantly, see how it's been updated and so forth. But it's an expanding list of the species of the world. Just to finish up, one could also just put in endangered species. And we should provide, these are mostly mammals. All right. This is a liger, which is, I don't know that they actually occur in nature. All right. This is a cross between a tiger and a lion. And we have some, they used to have some in Metro Zoo before
The
they,
white tigers, aren't they?
yeah, they're called white tigers, but actually it's a hybrid, a liger. But it may be that these are fertile, which is a rare exception for hybrids, right?
Right, that's what I was
They're-
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Those are extinct.
That's
These are
not a ferret?
endangered. These are endangered. Hmm?
Isn't that a ferret? Like
Here?
a panda?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ferrets are endangered?
Maybe this is an ocelot or some kind of a, yeah.
I like the guy on the top. He's kinda
Tiger.
cool.
Yeah. This is that the panda you were mentioning, the red panda? Yes.
It's like a fox that
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens with mammals.
Small.
They start looking, they look so nice that they're in the trade, the illegal trade, right? I think this one is a pangolin. It's like a, I think it's called pangolin. Pangolin is armadillo. I forget if it's in South America or Africa. The lynx, or related to the bobcat, which is a mascot. Mm.
Hey, what is that?
This is, looks like a type of sturgeon, no? A sturgeon? This is caviar.
Yeah, that one, that is a sturgeon.
Could be a type of
They're
sturgeon.
endangered.
Mm-hmm.
Caviar, hello.
Yeah.
Eating their eggs.
This one I recognize.
Killing them off.
This one is known as the ivory bill woodpecker, which is considered, so this looks like a photograph, but it could be an old photograph. I think the ivory bill woodpecker was put on the extinct list, but then there were some reports that they may have found one in Cuba, in the a swampy area, because Cuba is under industrialized, right, for the past 50 years or so. And so there's some nice natural preserves or natural environments. Okay,
Kangaroo.
so it goes on. It's a type, yes, it could be a wombat or one of those that is related marsupial.
See, this guy's neat. That's so cool.
Mm. This looks like a condor.
That was again-
Surprised I haven't put another condor here. The grouse, well, that's endangered, but it's not extinct. Anyway, so we can make a link, if I can find my presentation again here, between the human population growth, and particularly with agriculture taking up area for sustaining, for the infrastructure that is needed to sustain the population. That's a challenge. But again, if we go to the tertiary or quaternary agriculture that we have in the developed world, in the developed countries, then they're producing a much higher rate, much higher yield that is needed to maintain the population alive. So that's a good use of technology, we will. It uses less land and higher yield. Finally, I had this link, which is an overview. It's a professor giving his last lecture, actually.
Oh, no.
Coincidentally, yeah. But I thought it was done well. It's worthwhile seeing it. Let's see if it comes through. Sound. Oh, I need to get off this. Yes, he's the fellow. Let me see again.
Peninsula, and on there scientists built.
There we go.
Hi, it's Mr. Anderson, and this is AP Environmental Sciences, video 35. It's on the loss of biodiversity. Way up in northern Norway is the Svalbard Peninsula, and on there, scientists built a giant seed vault. It's protecting the seeds of humanity, our crop seeds, into the future. They chose to put it there because it's protected against tectonic activities. It's really, really cold. And also, as the sea levels rise, it's going to be protected as well. The idea was hundreds or thousands of years into the future, we could go there and grab seeds and then start growing those crops again. Unfortunately, we've already had to make withdrawals from that area. And the reason why is the war in Syria put a lot of these drought-resistant crops at risk, and so they've had to take more seeds out and they've moved those to Lebanon. But it does kind of get at this idea of the importance of biodiversity. Biodiversity is not only species diversity, but it can be genes, species, especially our domesticated crops and livestock, and then ecosystems themselves. And they have value. They give us our resources, and they also do these ecosystem services. And they're at risk. We're seeing biodiversity loss all around the planet. The causes are habitat loss, invasive species, climate change. We also have overharvesting, and then finally pollution are all impacting biodiversity. And so it's led to conservation. What do we do first? We have to figure out where that biodiversity is being lost. We have to figure out the conservation status of these organisms or areas. And then finally, we can pass laws and treaties to try to preserve a lot of that biodiversity. And so again, why do we need biodiversity? It's where we get our food. It's how we filter our water, energy, medicine. We all get that from our environment. And again, our environment also does these ecosystem services. They keep our climate stable. They decompose material once it's died. They pollinate our crops. And so we need biodiversity on our planet for resources and to do these services. If we define what it is, it's simply a variety. Variety at the genetic level, at the species level, and at the ecosystems. And so those genes that organisms have, once the organism is gone or the gene is gone, it's gone forever. It's extinct. Species as well. These are all the fruits found in a certain area of the tropical rainforest, but also we're talking about the crops that we have. And so I think it used to be we had around 8,000 different types of apples that were being grown, and now it's 100. And if you look in your own supermarket, it's way less than that. And then it's ecosystem changes as well. Once an ecosystem is gone, coral reefs, for example, you can't build that back again. And so what is causing this biodiversity loss? Well, when I was trying to come up with a quick way for you to remember these 5 things, I came up with this mnemonic. And so if you think of the biodiversity COP, and if you think of high COP as a way to remember it, if we put those in order, habitat loss is the first big impact on biodiversity. So deforestation, when we're cutting down those rainforests and planting crops. Right here we're growing soybeans. This is looking from above, where we used to have a tropical rainforest. We're reducing that diversity and we're replacing it with one simple crop. Invasive species, this is kudzu. It's a plant that was brought from Asia. These are the zebra mussels in the Great Lakes that they're really wreaking havoc. They came from the Mediterranean. We're also seeing climate change impacting biodiversity. So if we look at the polar bear, for example, will they go extinct? It's hard to tell. But if we look at all the areas where they used to do well, we're seeing a decrease in the optimal polar bear habitat. Also over harvesting. Humans have been harvesting animals for a long period of time. The dodo is extinct because we killed all of the dodos. And we're also seeing over harvesting now, especially in our aquatic systems. And then we can have pollution. Pollution's impacting the environment as well. So if we look at that Deepwater Horizon explosion, that led to an oil spill, which is impacting biodiversity in the Gulf of Mexico. And it'll take us years to figure out how that impacts it. Now, this has been going on for a long period of time. Extinctions are a part of nature. And if we look back through the fossil record, we've seen 5 major mass extinctions over time, and they have different causes. But most scientists are pointing to right now as the 6th mass extinction. This is mass extinction caused by humans. We're seeing extinction rates that we've never seen before, biodiversity loss that we've never seen before, and its cause is us. And so how do we solve this problem? Well, the first step is to identify where the problem is. And so the IUCN, International Union for the Conservation of Nature, has been around for over half a century, and what they've done is come up with these different statuses. Extinct in the wild would be one where we maybe have them in a zoo, but they don't exist in the wild. Then we have critically endangered, endangered, and vulnerable. Then we have near threatened, and finally areas of least concern. And so if you go on Wikipedia, you can look up any animal or any plant that's going to tell you its conservation status. So for example, the whooping crane are endangered. The California condor is critically endangered. humans, you can imagine, are an area of least concern. They've then created this red list where we look at how many of these species fall into these threatened or these red categories. If we look at mammals, almost 20% or over 20% are in this threatened kind of an area, and amphibians are really at risk. And so what do? Well, what we can do is pass laws. So in the US, we passed the Endangered Species Act in 1973 to protect species and the ecosystems on which they depend. And so it essentially is a list. So bald eagles are a classic example that were added to the endangered species list. And so there, I think, were around 500 breeding pairs in the lower 48, and now there's over 10,000. So once they recover, we remove them from that list. Grizzly bears were added. Their population is coming back. In Montana, there's a big debate right now over, do we remove them from the list or not? But it also has to be balanced with human resources as well. So logging, for example, can impact certain species that are going to be found on the endangered species list. We've also seen global changes. The Convention on Biological Diversity in 1992, all of the green countries here signed on that biodiversity is important, it has an economic import, and that we're going to try to protect it. But again, it's not legally binding. And so we're still seeing huge decreases in biodiversity. And it goes back to the first thing I talked about in this class, the idea that the planet supports society, but society is driven by economics. And so we're never going to see decreases in biodiversity loss until there's an economic incentive or a way to do that. And so did you learn the following? Could you pause the video at this point and fill in the blanks? Well, let me do that for you. Biodiversity has value. It's a variety in the genes, species, and ecosystems, again, especially the domestic ones that we need to survive. That loss is caused by high COP, so that's habitat loss, invasive species, climate change, overharvesting, and pollution. And then how do we solve this? Through conservation, we figure out the status of those organisms or maybe those ecosystems, and then we start to protect them through laws and treaties. So that's it, and it's also the last of the videos on AP Environmental Sciences, so I hope that was helpful.
But it was amazing when I found that video. I said, I could have shown that video at the beginning of the semester. It could have been the whole course right there. Huh? Yeah. It's amazing how much it packed in 10 minutes. Yeah. But tremendous, an overview. And I think it's balanced, in my opinion. I think it's fairly balanced. It brings it down to the human factor of economics. And indirectly, he mentions politics also because of the treaties and the laws and so forth, right? But so we ask the good Lord for wisdom in all these issues and to guide us. My opinion, since from a believer perspective, right? Which, by the way, I wanted to mention, you know, I told you about the first international conference on climate, nature, and society that we organized here last year, at the beginning of last year. And I send you a link there to the conference, all the talks and everything else. Well, we're beginning to organize a second one now, hopefully for next year in the springtime sometime. And but we want to give it a faith perspective, an angle of faith perspective of conviction to precisely integrate not just the science and so forth and the politics and economics, but also to bring the good Lord into this. And one aspect of it is from a believer, from the perspective of a believer, ultimately, we believe in creation, we believe in God, and that God has created us specifically in his image and likeness. So of the millions of species that exist, which one way or another are created by God also because, let's say that minimally he created the laws that drive evolution, okay? But us specifically in his image, how could it be that from the millions of species that exist, this one species is the one that's going to end up destroying his creation, right? So I'm just kind of thinking aloud here and trying to say that, I forgot to connect this again. We have it within us to not destroy us and the rest of the environment. We have it within us, but he still gives us free will. So it's all on how we use that will, for the good or for the evil. This fellow just mentioned that on the seed repository there, they had to take out seeds already to replant in the Middle East because of a war situation, right? So these conflicts, this violence of the human nature with, by far, the most violent species on earth. by far. And so it's really a toss-up. What's it going to be in the end? Are we going to end up destroying ourselves and the environment in the process because of our stubbornness and just unthinking ways? Or are we going to come together to save the planet, and save ourselves in the process? So, okay. Now, what I had planned for next Saturday, first, it's not going to happen because I think we're all ready for a break, right? And plus, half of the students can make it, they're away and have commitments and so forth. It's just getting too late. However, we're not off the hook because then we have another semester coming up. At the end of August, we'll start with the final semester. So 3 more months, hang in there. Okay, you're almost the final stretch. You can start writing up. I think it's probably the second Saturday of December. That will be commencement. That will be 16. You looked it up already? Yeah. That's the goal. That's when you get to walk. Okay, that's graduation or commencement. So in those 3 months, it's actually the long semester. We call it the 16-week semester, the fall. And we don't need all those 16 weeks. It'll be exhausted if we use all those for healthcare ethics. So at least the first couple of sessions, we'll pick this up again, and hopefully we'll have more people showing up live, and we can have an overall discussion on to finish this one, to finish the human population and environmental bioethics, and then move on to the healthcare. Okay? Because a number of people cannot make it next Saturday, and it defeats the purpose of having a discussion. I noticed from the last one, it doesn't record well. So we'll suspend it. So we have now a break for about a month, I think. Right, no class next week. This is the last one. All right, that's why I had to do the evaluation now.
I need to submit you some summaries.
Exactly. So you people have, some of you have some summaries to submit, which you have this week to do that, because then I'm off. All right, I'm not going to do it in Spain. Plus I have to turn in grades anyway. Yes, a regular summary. I apologize, I don't have a handout for you, but essentially you can use the first, the first slide on the PowerPoint gives you an outline there. All right, you can pass it to Word. And then what else? Okay, so the books, whoever is not gonna keep the books, I need you to get me that back to me. Right? I think it's the 19th. I think it's the 19th. Let me see who's asking. This is from Lydia. Right. So I don't know if you can hear me in virtual. Let me turn this on because I think I'm off.
She created an outline and she sent to everybody for this.
Oh, thank you very much. Super. See, that's creativity. Thank you. Patrick is constantly looking for links.
And she's asking what for the evaluation.
Right.
Online.
Yes, so no, hopefully you can hear me now. But basically what I need to do is, they've gone back to paper evaluations, okay, because they're trying to get a high rate of return, and the students just weren't doing it online, whatever. So I have the evaluations that you did in that envelope. I'll take that envelope. You have my word that I won't open it or look at it, and I'll keep it until Monday or Tuesday of this week. I'll give it to the secretary here. This is for the people online or remote. What I'll do now is I'll take a picture, I'll take a photograph of one blank. Is it front and back or just it's front and back? Okay, so it's one sheet of paper, front and back. I'll take a photograph of each and email it to you. So please print it out, all right? You can print it out in a single or 2 sheets, whatever you can do. Print it out, fill it out, and then I'll send you a, I'll scan it back in, right? So you don't have to bring it physically, but just photograph your results, and I'll send you an email address of the secretary. Estela is her name, Estela, and she's the secretary who's going to have the envelope. So when your evaluations come back, she'll pull them all together in a folder and then hand them into the appropriate people who tabulate all that. All right, so there'll be confidentiality there. Don't send that evaluation back to me, but to Stella, which I'll include her email address in the email that I send you all. Okay, I don't know if anyone else has any other question or comments. No? Okay. Yeah. All right, so you need to think about the books. With regards to Laudato Si, what I don't know is how much they cost to keep. All right. Let me try to find out that this week, and I'll send you by mail, by email. I'll send you the price to see whatever you want to keep and whatever you want to. Right. Yes. Laudato Si, you can. I know that you can get it for about $10 or $12 from the Conference of Catholic Bishops. You can also download it for free if you want to print it. You can download it for free. Laudato Si. Yeah, you can keep it. I don't know how much they're going to charge you. If they're going to charge you more than $10, it's not worth it, you know. But anyway, I'll find out what the prices are to keep of all the books and email you that, and then you can decide and either take it back directly yourself or give it to me. I think we still have until the first week of August to return the books. All right? So they always give a little more time.
The books returning is in
the bookstore, which is next to the cafeteria. Yes, it's that little one-story standalone building at the beginning of the parking lot. Yeah. Okay. Okay, excellent. So thanks again. And everybody have a great, blessed summer. Be safe. All right. And we'll see you on the return.
Thank you, Father.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
the next,
Bye-bye.
You too.
the next class is gonna be in August. I had it here, like in
Yes.
August
20-something?
26. We supposed to start the internship class.
Oh,
And the first
yes.
day of class.
Mm-hmm.
August
Father, please